Welcome to the Bjork Down. Today we're going to talk about probably the greatest artist of all time, which is Björk. I have been waiting
for literal weeks to talk about her.
I am obsessed with her music. I've been going through and listening to all of her albums, stuff that she did when she was in different bands, as well as her remix albums, and I've also been watching all of her music videos. I am obsessed with her 100%. This year she made it on my Spotify Wrapped as my 5th most listened to artist, which I'm super proud of. I'm guessing next year we're gonna see some increases. I'm just gonna go through today and talk about which albums are my favorite. I'm gonna rank them, cover some interesting information about each different era of Björk. After all, she is an artist who has been doing it for so many years. She is constantly changing the field with every single album that she releases. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm super excited to get into it. Just for a little context, Björk has been making music since the 90s. She was in various bands, most famously the Sugar Cubes. That band was kind of more of an alternative rock sound, which definitely helped her become the pop musician that she is today. If you go back and listen to that music, you're going to be really surprised though, because there are so many guitars featured on every single song, obviously because it's a band, and you're never going to hear so many guitars on a Björk album in your life ever again after you listen to that. And it is quite a shock if you've ever listened to Björk's music before it. She sounds totally different. She has like such a youthful, vibrant voice, which she's a great singer, but it's just so different from anything else that you'll ever hear. If you're really interested in Björk, I would definitely recommend going and checking out music by the Sugar Cubes. I will say it's not my favorite that she did with her band work. There's also Kukl, or Kukl, I'm not sure if that's how you say it. They were kind of more of like a goth punk band, and I think that music was definitely more suited for Björk style, way edgier and darker and way more atmospheric. I definitely recommend, if that sounds like more your style, I would check that out, because personally for me, that is what resonated with me. Also super important to note is Björk is from Iceland, which is a huge influence on every single album that she makes. Iceland is not a very big country, and she is 100% the most famous person from Iceland. She has been the most famous person from Iceland since she began as an artist. She has released an album at 11 years old. Granted, it was like a bunch of jazz covers, but still, it is insane to me as at 11 years old, she was already producing music, which also shouldn't come as a surprise because Björk attended a music school as a child, and she learned to play flute, which you're going to hear a lot about flutes later on, as well as harp, which somehow is also going to get brought up at some point in this video. That is going to be some useful information to keep in your back pocket here. I'm just going to stop prolonging the inevitable, and we're just going to get straight into my ranking. I will say it's a little controversial. This list has changed so much since I started. Like when I first made this list, I felt super confident in it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go through and just keep listening to her albums so I am even better prepared for this video. But when I've been going through and listening, the list has just changed so drastically. It looks nothing like what it did to begin with. Definitely these last few weeks have had a huge impression on my taste in Björk music. If you've only listened to like the 2 most popular albums by Björk, I'm gonna tell you now, this is a trigger warning. You're gonna get upset, but I just want you to hear me out, okay? She has so much music. You should listen to all of these albums thoroughly multiple times before you like actually feel like you have a concrete understanding. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that out there before we get started. This last place Björk album is gonna upset some fans. I think I've literally seen every single album get ranked either first or last, because I've been scouring the internet trying to see how people view these albums, and I think I've seen every single combination possible. Reddit especially has some very hot takes. The YouTubers, I would say, they all kind of seem to agree a little bit more. I'm sorry, so sorry to all of the biophilia fans in the world.
Biophilia.
I'm so sorry. Guys, listen, I know that Björk would not agree that this is her weakest project, okay? I think whenever I've seen her talk about this album, she seems so proud of it, which obviously, duh. She's a genius, and I don't think she should feel ashamed of any single thing she's worked on, like literally ever. There's a lot going on with this era. First of all, Biophilia was released with an app, which sounds weird because it is weird. It was the first album ever, because I'm assuming there's been some since. It was the first album to ever have an app that went along with the experience. And basically what it did is it would like let you listen to the songs, and you kind of went through and played like these mini games or these different interactive modules that went along with each song. I didn't go and check it out, so
You can't like actually do it.
you can.
Wait, I thought it was defunct.
No, I swear to God, as of recently as like a couple months ago,
Wait, no, I don't think you can.
I have seen people be like, yeah, if you have the couple dollars to spare, it's a fun experience. I think you can. Here, let's look it up right now. Actually, no, this is good. Let's look it up right now. I swear to God, if the Biophilia app is here. Oh my gosh. Wait, was I lied to? Was I bamboozled? What? It looks like up to 4 years ago, there was an iOS update, but it's not in the App Store. Can you not still enjoy the pleasure of the Biophilia app? You know what? I'm so sorry to the Biophilia fans because I probably just gave someone out there like false hope. This is my public apology. This is my first YouTuber apology. Biophilia fans, I sincerely apologize for not doing my research on that. I hope you guys will take this as a sincere apology. I didn't know that the app was no longer available in the App Store. And for that, I am terribly sorry for spreading that propaganda. But anyways, there was at one point an app for Biophilia, the album, amongst a lot of other things. Björk was doing these kind of interactive tours, I want to say. Essentially, she would go to these different places. There was workshops, essentially, where kids could learn to make music or get to kind of experience some of the music making process. So Biophilia was really, first and foremost, in my opinion, a project. I feel like it was a super complex project that Björk had been working on for years. It was very education focused. There was also a lot of innovation that went along with this album. She created gravity harps, essentially, which I don't really understand how they work. There's gravity harps on some of the tracks on the album. She used a Tesla coil. But yeah, so Biophilia has a lot going on for it. For the Biophilia fans out there, I'm so glad that you guys have all of this stuff. But I do think that it took away from the quality of the album. And I know that's like an opinion that I've seen on the internet elsewhere. I'm sorry if I sound like, in the words of Miss FK Twigs, a regurgitator, because I'm not trying to regurgitate that information. I do feel a lack of completion with the Biophilia project. There's a lot of sparse spaces on the album. I almost feel like when I'm listening to it, there's just elements that are missing. And this was kind of confirmed for me when I went and checked out Bastards, which is the remix album. Honestly, I thought that some of the remix songs were better than the original songs. One example of that 100% being true is the Death Grips remix of Sacrifice. That song slaps. In my opinion, I'm sorry if you're like a devout fan of that like original. I think that is a huge improvement, and it really has like this rich like texture on the song. That is what I wanted to see. But overall, Biophilia's idea is basically the convergence of nature and technology, science, and the natural world. That is like a really interesting idea, especially from Björk, who is so really emphasizes most of her albums have some theme of nature or the environment involved in it. And this one, I would say it kind of takes that idea like the most seriously. But honestly, I think there's albums that do it better, and we'll talk about that later on. I'm not going to go through every single song, but some standouts for me, I really love Moon. At first, I thought it was kind of a weak intro just because it's very plucky, very light, very airy. But now I think that that song is super intricate, actually really interesting. Songs like Crystalline, which is I think the most streamed song on Biophilia. I completely understand why people like that song. This is probably my favorite song on the album. It has like these plucky like chime bell sounds. Honestly, that one is her most thought out song on this entire record. Dark Matter and Hollow are both very, very good songs. It kind of summons this dark energy that at this point in Björk's career we hadn't seen since Medulla, which was in 2004, so only 2 albums ago, but that was a long time year-wise. And I really like that she went this kind of edgier route with some of these songs. Unfortunately, I just think that most of these songs are kind of forgettable. Like, I'm sorry, but Virus, Sacrifice this version, Solstice, I don't know. For me, this is just that Björk album that I just don't connect with. Everyone has to have that. I mean, she has 10 main solo albums, and so it's impossible to love every single one completely. This is just the one I feel the least about, think and feel the least about. I'm probably not going to play this one a whole lot, except for Moon, Crystalline, Dark Matter, and Hollow. I think I'm just going to move on for the sake of time because I really, really want to sink my teeth more into some of these later albums. Number 9 is the one that everyone hates. Volta.
I don't even care.
I literally don't even care that everyone hates Volta. It's actually genius, and I just don't think everyone's smart enough to understand what she is trying to achieve. And I'm sorry if I have just called you out, but it's the truth, and you all need to hear it. If this album cover was homogenic instead, it would be number one for all of you.
And you can quote me on that.
I'm sorry, but you guys are fake because this album cover alone is what deters half of you from even giving it above the 10th spot. And I know that I'm putting it 9, so I'm like preaching as if I'm not putting it as my second like least favorite Bjork album. I'm obsessed with this album, okay?
I am going to listen to this all the time.
She is doing something that some people just don't understand. And to them, I say,
Your loss.
She released Volta in 2007, and when she released it, at the time there was a lot of murmurings that the album was going to be very pop rap focused because of Timbaland's hand in producing. Ultimately, he ended up being on only 2 songs, Earth Intruders and Hope. When his songs come on to the track list, I think you can tell that there's someone else working on it, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think there was like this expectation about what it was going to be. Oh, this is Björk's return to pop music. That's really not at all what it is. And I don't think that it's a bad thing that that's not what it ended up being. When I was looking at people's just Reddit,
When I say people, I mean Reddit.
I saw a lot of people say that it's trying too hard to be mainstream. I think if you listen to this album with literally no expectations, like if you just listen to this album, I do not think that the key takeaway would be that she's trying to be mainstream. I also think that that might be a retroactive opinion because Volta is Björk's best charting album in the United States. Okay, it is kind of crazy because I think that so many of her albums have not gotten the proper listening here in the United States that they deserve. Björk is truly not an artist that is ever meant to be number one in the United States. Her music is way too avant-garde,
Creative.
even thematically, her music is not suited to what the cultural appetite is in the United States. Like she sings about the natural world and about very complex abstract ideas. And I'm not saying that it can never be directed for an American audience. I just don't think that's who she has in mind when she makes this music. And so that's why it's not going to do crazy well in America. When people are like, oh, well, it's obviously her most pop centric just because it charted well in the United States. I think that is
A horrible take.
I actually think that this is one of her most bold albums, sonically for sure. As soon as you start the album,
You're gonna get blasted with Earth Intruders.
which is like such a funny song. We are the Earth Intruders. It's just such a funny intro. I could see why someone would listen to that and be like, this is so obnoxious, but I think it is so fun. I'm like, instantly, I'm like, oh, Björk is having fun. I'm having fun. We're all having fun.
Like, just calm down about it, guys.
Even the next song, Wanderlust, I guess before Wanderlust, there's like like a 1.5 minute outro of just like foghorns. Like it just sounds like boats leaving. People really, really hate that. She instantly tanks the album by like having these horns on the very first song at the end.
Shut up. Oh my god, just shut up.
It's actually artistic if you think about it. Earth Intruders was inspired by a tsunami like event that happened in Asia. Björk said she was having dreams about it, and she had a dream somewhere along the lines of like there was a tsunami of people. Then it kind of flipped the idea of Earth Intruders, like people.
We are the Earth Intruders.
It's not crazy. I understand the vision with it. I like it. And the music video for Earth Intruders is also super funny. It's like her face like laying down and then her face comes up all of a sudden. And there's like the silhouette of like a tribal dance going on.
Really not my favorite Björk music video.
I've seen some people support it, which I'm not gonna say anything about it. Volta deserves appreciation. So if that's what it is, that's what it is. I guess I should also mention that Volta, like, the word has some different meanings in Björk's eyes. For one, it is like a tribal dance or a cultural dance. And it's also like the idea of like a volt, like of energy, which is really what the album is kind of achieving.
Energy.
I think that makes sense for where she was at in her life. She had just had, I think, her second child. With that, she was looking for a change of pace in her life. And I'm also...
This is not me being parasocial. She said this in an interview.
This album is really like a change in pace for her. It's getting away from the somber, stripped back avant-gardeness of something like Medulla, which was the last album she released, and going full force into this bright, like brassy, eccentric sound.
This is kind of a hot take.
I don't even think there's a bad song. I don't even think there's a bad song on Volta. Like, I know that's gonna sound crazy, but I actually don't think there's a bad song on here. I would love for there to be a polling battle to see if people like Wanderlust by Björk more or Wanderlust by FK Twigs more. Riddle me that. I'm curious. The Dull Flame of Desire featuring Anoni is such a good song. This song is based on a Russian poem that...
I don't know what year it was written.
But it's based on a Russian poem. She adapted it into this really beautiful, like, swelling song. There's great brass accompaniment on the song. Anoni has appeared on multiple Björk records. But this is like a standout performance for me. Genuinely, her contribution to that song, it sticks with me. And do I think maybe the song is a little too long?
Yeah.
Maybe. I actually am I'm not complaining. There's a lot going on this record, and that song is just probably one of my favorites from this record, honestly. Also worth mentioning, Vertebrae by Vertebrae, which is also another really interesting Björk song in the Björk canon. It's this song about metamorphosis. It's like almost down to the very vertebrae. Every single vertebrae of your body is like changing. And I think Volta for her was a huge change in direction. I don't think it went on to define that change. Like, I don't think anything after Volta or before Volta sounds like Volta. This was like an intense moment for her, like sonically, lyrically, and vocally. This album is vocally very good. Vocals on Volta are killer, and I don't care if you think that's not true,
because it is.
Other people like to point out that Volta is politically weak. Some of these songs do feature political sentiments. For example, Hope. Actually, besides Dull Flame of Desire, I think Hope is my favorite song. It sounds like it would be,
For my Zelda fans in the chat,
it sounds like it would be like an anthem that's playing in Kakariko Village. Really quirky drums and like plucky strings. And I want to say it was an African harp or string.
I can't remember what kind of instrument it was.
But it's an African string instrument. And then when you're actually listening to the words, you're like, what is going on? Because she's saying, what's the lesson of two evils? I don't know what I'm allowed to say on YouTube. How do I say this in a way that will not get this video restricted? Hope is about a Palestinian pregnant woman, doesn't want to be around anymore.
Let's put it that way.
She's going to basically cause a huge explosion. I feel like that is enough. And if that doesn't make sense, then just look it up, because I don't know what I'm allowed to say on here. Lyrically, it's a very deep song, but it's very humorous. She's making an interesting statement, which is that what's the difference of if someone does something that's a horrible act of atrocity, if like basically if they're being oppressed, what's the difference between someone carrying out an act of goodness when 2 seconds later it's just going to be turned around and spit in their face like for doing an act of good? This song really is kind of an ironic like Björk moment. Declare Independence, I like the idea here, because this is probably the most politically radical she is on the album, of just saying declare independence. And again, this song is also tongue-in-cheek, because she's saying just basically over and over, declare independence, don't let them do that to you.
That's the whole gist.
It is very simple, and it does sound kind of silly when she's just screaming it over and over. But then when you think about the fact that she played it in China, and then she got in trouble for playing it in China, well, was she wrong? Was it the most lyrically savvy?
No.
But was she wrong? Also, no, she was not wrong. Not a bad song, just sometimes it can be a little much. It can be a little too loud. Kind of gives me a little PTSD to some of her older work, the bands that she was in. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up most of what I think, or most of what I've learned about Volta. If you haven't listened to Volta, or if all you know is that it is the bad Björk record, I would invite you to go listen to it. Forget about everything that you've heard. Forget about if you think the cover is ugly. Just go enjoy it. Especially because with this album, the most political statement about the record is she's basically saying, let's reject this idea of Christianity as like what defines us, and let's embrace our primordial roots, like what we are as people, like who we are. We're letting these governing systems, these religious systems, oppress and institutionalize people. Really, all we are is people. And I think that is a great sentiment. I think there's improvements. There are improvements that could have been made on Volta. I don't want to sound like it's a perfect record. I just think that with all the negative energy that there is about this record, I'm okay with spreading some positivity. Go check it out, please, guys.
That's the most anyone's ever had to say about Volta.
And I'm going to tell you, whenever I was in comment sections looking at people's opinions, people were always like, guys, don't count Volta out. Please don't count Volta out. This is for you. Vasora. What? I have no idea what that was. James?
Guys, I'm scared.
Vasora. When I listened to Vasora, I had just finished Utopia, but I was like, I wonder what this next one's going to be, because I thought Utopia was going to be really bad, and then when I enjoyed it,
Spoiler alert.
I was like, okay, Vasora is probably going to be even better, and I do like Vasora. I do. Overall, I feel good about it. But then again, I feel overall good about all the Björk albums. This one, unfortunately for me, I would just say that there's really, really, really strong songs on here. Vasora has many great ideas twirling around in the air. I just don't think that all of them come to fruition. When she released Vasora, her mother had just passed away. Some of the songs on here cover Björk's feelings about that. Her mom was kind of like a hippie lady, like an activist. Björk found her to be a staunch nihilist, but she was very negative, and I think that shaped Björk's feelings about things. Björk tends to be an optimist. Having a mother who is so nihilist kind of shaped her opinions in the opposite direction, but she has some difficult feelings with her mom. Not that she she didn't love her mom, or, you know, she had a strained relationship with her, but I think she's not afraid to just talk about something difficult like that. Many people are scared to say anything negative about their parents, but I think she, in the death of her mom, had a lot of self-discovery and embraces the parts of her mom, even in herself, that maybe she didn't really like. Basura means groundbreaker, and so it seems apt that the album after Utopia, which is very heavenly, very airy, is now a more grounded album. Basura is very, very grounded in a very earthy sounding record. She said that when she was making this, it was never going to be a Tree Root album, because Tree Roots are very stoic. And I just love that she said that. I just love that she was like, I didn't want to make a very stoic album, because obviously everyone knows that Tree Roots
are very stoic.
So I went with Mushrooms. Mushrooms are very psychedelic, and they grow out of decaying things. In saying that, it sounds really obvious, but that just seems so genius, and she's on a different level. Tree Roots are very stoic. Oftentimes people talk about this record and they're like, oh yeah, that's the Mushroom album. And I don't really love when people chalk her albums up to being one thing, like the clarinet album or the flute album or whatever. I think that they're so complex and intricate that to say that would just be erasing so much nuance that comes with every single Bjork record.
However,
this one is the fungal clarinet album. The intro, atopos, which is Greek for strange or confusing, it is a really strange and confusing intro. I normally feel that Bjork is super good about opening her albums. This one, for me, even though, yeah, it's like very literally strange and confusing, I just feel like it kind of sets you off on a very odd note. This record is very swampy, very hazy. So I guess if that's the intention, it's starting off really well. I don't return to the song very often. I think that Sorrowful Soil is the first really good song on here. This song is about her mother's death. This one has such a cool vocal effect, a lot of repetition, some vocal arrangement here, and it is really interesting. She repeats a lot of these lines over and over, almost like a religious hymn. This song feels like a hymn to me. It's also very poetic. She says, in a woman's lifetime, she only gets 400 eggs, but only 2 or 3 nests woven with a mother's life force. This entire album is so odd. I wish that I was like deeply in love with this record, because it is so out there, and I think if you like this, you are so artsy and you are
so interesting and you are so cool.
But this one is just so odd to me. This song is kind of an ode to her mom. She's saying you did well, basically, and now you're going to return to the earth. And that is a very good, very positive way to look at death. What you've contributed to life is good, and now you can return to nature. I'm glad she found that piece, because that is heartbreaking. But the next song, Ancestress, is probably the standout on here. This is probably one of 2 or 3 songs that are about her mother on this record. She has like a religious undertone in this song. My skull is my cathedral, where this matrimort takes place. Matrimort is not a real word. Björk likes to invent words, and so it basically means death of a mother. This song does the best job of completing a full idea. Unfortunately, I do think a lot of these songs just start somewhere and we kind of just don't get to the finish line. This song, it goes all the way. She's kind of going through this story about when she was a girl, and then that slowly trickles into her mother aging, her being sick, and it ultimately ends with her mother's death. She's talking about her mom basically being on life support or near death, and she says, the machine of her breathed all night while she rested, revealed her resilience, and then it
didn't.
And that hits so hard when you're listening to the song. It is so standout. If we're going to make a Björk album of all of her best songs from every single era, this one has to be on it. A great execution of that idea. 100%. Victimhood is also another really interesting song. She said that when she was writing the song, she was studying amateur psychology, these personality archetypes essentially. And she, on this song, is dealing with her divorce and describing how she makes herself the victim by trying to be strong for others. And that inevitably backfires on her because she's not dealing with her issues. The writing on this one is good, as well as those other songs, but I think the production is really standout on here. We get some really booming bass clarinets. I used to play clarinet, and on this album I actually like the clarinets. As someone who hates,
I hate a clarinet.
Every time I hear one, I'm like, that is the most obnoxious instrument of all time. I think on this record they're manageable at the very least. Also, this is the only Björk album where you can go from an underground fungal city into a rave, into a full out underground mushroom rave. And I don't know how I feel about that, but it's
very interesting.
I saw criticism of some people about the gabber drums on this record. From what I was able to find, gabber drums are basically like Dutch rave sounds. Like that's what they're inspired by.
That's interesting.
What's interesting?
The Gabbard that's on that record.
Yeah. She's using like industrial music. So I actually don't mind it. Like I've never thought about like the drums, honestly, like in this song. Like I wasn't like actively aware of the drums like that. But when someone said it, I was like, oh, I've never thought about it. And on my last listen through, I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't think there's anything wrong with
The Gabber drums.
I guess because I'm also not like a music nerd like that. Like I love music, but I'm not gonna be like the Gabber drums were a little obnoxious.
You're not like.
I don't know what coding.
Niche electronic
Yeah,
music.
I don't know what drum she coded for in this. I'm like, I don't know.
Niche Dutch electronic music.
Yeah, Dutch electro. I'm sorry, guys.
The Gabber.
But also, Fossora on here, another good song. I'm gonna wrap this up by saying that her mother's house, she sings this song with her daughter and it is so beautiful. Her daughter is such a great singer, and I don't know if it's just like this one song. I've not gone out in the world to see if her daughter is like a real artist or whatever. I know her son is. It's such a beautiful song. Like that's what I have to say about Fossora is even though it's really weird and sometimes kind of a murky listen, there are some really beautifully written and executed songs on here. But kind of everything else that I didn't talk about, I'm not crazy about. But I do place it above Volta because I think there is a little bit more clarity with idea here. And I do think that the best songs on here are better than the best songs on Volta. That's why I justify my ranking here. You should check it out like all the rest of them. I'm sorry that I talk about Fossora forever. I'm sure that
It's not what anyone wanted.
the album that is number 7 on my ranking of Björk's discography is one that I actually really, really, really love. And that it hurt me to put this low. It was originally like number 4. This album is one of my personal favorites. And that is Utopia. Utopia. Utopia by Travis Scott. So Utopia was released in 2017. If you've ever listened to this, you probably just think about the flutes. And what most people think about the flutes is that they
Annoy the living crap out of them.
I do not think the flutes are annoying. I think they are very atmospheric, elegant, and professional. And that's what I have to say about the flutes. I'm going to step on that before someone in my comments is like, I hate the flutes.
Shut up.
This album comes after Volnikira, which we will talk about later. I'm not going to say when we're going to talk about Volnikira. This follows up on that project and is kind of an answer to that one. Volnikira deals with her divorce, and Utopia is the levity after it. The moment of clarity, the idealization of her future, a perfect heaven, a perfect happy land where nothing wrong ever happens. It is also produced by Arca. I love Arca so much. All of the Kick albums are at least good. Some of them are near masterpiece or are masterpiece. Also am such a big fan of Mutant as of recent. So I love Arca. Her fingertips are all over Utopia. When discussing Arca's contribution to the record, she said that Arca was way more of an even partner with her on this record. So easy to tell that. First of all, Arca's name is like literally listed on almost all of the songs now, and I don't think Arca even gets one actual name drop in the song listing of Volnikira. But on this one, it really does feel more like a collaboration. And I'm kind of shocked that they didn't just end up making it a collab project between Björk and Arca. When they collaborate, it is truly magical.
Is Arca on any songs on her newest record?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm going to say no, but I don't think so.
Arca's definitely more of a solo artist than she was back.
Yeah, Arca.
As of 2022, as she was.
Yeah, I mean, Arca has worked with every like legend, basically, like Kanye, FK Twigs, Bjork, and now she's really getting to be her own artist, and I actually prefer that. I love her own music so much. Like I don't even need her to ever be a feature ever again because she's fantastic and
Her own music is so good.
Utopia opens with Arise in My Senses. This song will make you levitate. You know the meme of SpongeBob where he's like floating with like his like, that is literally me whenever this song comes on. It like elevates me off of the ground. Especially if you listen to the albums in order. You get done with Volnikira, which ends on a relatively good note. The start of this one is just so beautiful and you're instantly in that utopia, that literal heaven that she has made. If you're not a fan of bird sounds, you're not gonna like this record because there's a ton of bird sounds.
And I love birds.
So I do not mind the bird sounds on here. Blissing Me, I think the writing is definitely what's good about Blissing Me, except for there's one line that I cannot take seriously where she says, music nerds. I don't know why, but the concept of Björk saying music nerds on an album just
Literally sends me into orbit.
The Gate, in my opinion, a direct closing to Volnikira because she's talking about this wound that was...
Is it the first song on the record?
The Gate is the third track, which is really confusing if you're like listening to it in order. It does feel like the conclusion to Volnikira, and maybe that's why it's like my favorite. My healed chest wound transformed into a gate. where I receive love from, where I give love from, and I care for you.
Care for you.
This makes sense in light of Bjork saying that this is her Tinder album. And I wish that was a joke. Bjork literally called Utopia her Tinder album. This is what it's like to date when you're in your 50s. Actually, that makes a lot of sense though, because she had just a few years earlier been through a divorce and was trying to navigate being in love with someone after that. If you listened to Volnicura or if you've heard of any of her interviews about that situation, it completely devastated her. And that is to say the least. And so hearing songs like this where she's saying that chest wound is healed and now that's where she gives her love from and that's where she receives her love, that is so beautiful. I'm sorry to be corny, but that is so beautiful. Utopia is almost like this soundscape of heaven. There's these like this massive chorus of flutes playing. I think not everyone can take such an abstract concept like a utopia.
Like, what does that look like?
And I think she really makes it clear what the utopia looks like for her. For her, a utopia is the natural world. Utopia is very woman oriented. I feel like there's very little male fingertips in Björk's Utopia.
Very valid.
Some other songs worth mentioning: Body Memory.
Stunning.
Body Memory almost feels like a song that would raise a mummy from the dead. If you hear it, you'll know what I mean. Features Creatures is one of Björk's most hated songs ever. I think this song is so funny. We're in such an ethereal like paradise, and then all of a sudden she's like, features, creature. I don't know what is happening. I don't want to say I hate the song or make it sound like I'm making fun of her. I just have no idea what's going on in this song. It is so weird. Loss is another song that I think people frequently give its flowers. Not every song on Utopia is very loved, but Loss is one that people seem to come around on. It is a little long. It's 6 minutes and 51 seconds. If you're a patient person, it's rewarding. Sue Me and Tabula Rasa are probably my two favorite songs. No, I'm not talking about the Audrey Hobart, Sue Me, I Wanna Be Wanted. I'm talking about the one where Björk's like, Sue me, sue me, sue me, are you out? And that sums it up pretty well. Something I like about Utopia is that I think that Björk always has a youthful sound, but I think this is the oldest Björk sounds. And I don't know why, but I really like it. It's like she's like a motherly figure helping you navigate the world. And that is super beautiful to me.
Shout out to that.
Tabula Rasa is another standout where she talks about wanting a blank slate for her kids. Even though they've had to endure some trauma from the divorce or from their father's actions, she wants a blank slate for them. And finally, Future Forever as the closer, a very futuristic sound. Also kind of ties the whole album up pretty perfectly. So I'm going to be done talking about Utopia because I could talk about it all day. Overall, I do think it's stretched a little thin, but I do like that there's like a theatrical side of it. It almost feels like a play or a musical is unfurling before you. Actually, more of like a dance. It feels like this is a ballet. This one is one of my personal favorites. I do listen to this one a lot. It's a challenging listen, but we're all adults, so let's grow up and accept that Utopia is good.
Post.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Post. I know you have every right to click off of this video right now,
But just listen to me.
I love Post. This one has grown on me so much. Literally, I don't know what is wrong with my brain, because when I first heard this, I was like, I like it, but I don't know if I like it more than Debut, though.
Like, it's like okay.
I was wrong. This album is fantastic. She explores so many different ideas on this album. If you look at the cover of it, it's very eclectic, and that is exactly what this album is. She has jazz standouts, like It's Oh So Quiet, Army of Me, which is like this crazy like punk song, Hyper Ballad, the best pop song of all time, and songs like Possibly Maybe, which are like these trip hop ambient songs. I cannot tell you how she thought of all these songs for one album, but they just work.
They just work.
I feel so bad for putting this so low. No matter how much I love all of these songs like individually, when I'm looking at a Björk album, this one has so much going on, and I do prefer when Björk is more tight with the concepts. This one, while being super good, is very loose with the concept. Army of Me is this crazy song that she wrote about her brother because she was so annoyed with him. I don't know what he did to deserve this song. She comes out saying, if you complain once more, you're gonna meet an army of me. That is so intimidating. I would not want Björk to attack me. She has the audacity to go from that to Hyper Ballad. Hyper Ballad is so
I don't even want to say good.
probably one of my favorite songs of all time, if not my favorite song of all time. I'm telling you right now, if Madonna sang that song instead, it would be the #1 song in history. It just has to do with the fact that it's Björk doing Björk things. If this song was in the hands of a pop diva in the 90s that wasn't Björk,
It would have been game over.
that song would be everywhere all the time. This song is perfect the way it is, and I don't want Madonna or a pop diva to have it. I want Björk to have this song. I'm just saying this song would be way more widespread if Björk hadn't sang it. Boy, am I glad that she did, because this song rules. It's so catchy, and the production is so fine-tuned. I don't even know how she came up with this thing. You've Been Flirting Again does not really seem to go with the rest of the album, and every time I get to it, I'm always like,
where did this come from?
it's like this string arrangement where she's lamenting about her lover. I'm not commenting on the quality of it necessarily because I don't think it's a bad song. I just think it's very perplexing. It just kind of sticks out to me every time I listen to it, and I think, what is it doing here? And I know that's saying a lot considering It's Oh So Quiet is literally a jazz like banger that she threw on here, and somehow it works, and I don't ever question it. I think it's the energy. Compared to debut, Post is very bold. Everything is in your face all at once, and this song is one of the least songs that's in your face and bold, and so I think that is probably why I just don't really feel like it fits the vibe of Post. Isabel, great song, but Possibly Maybe is probably my second favorite. It really does capture this vibe of you're up super late at night, you can't get like this person out of your head, you're painting all these possibilities of what could happen. A big part of the trip hop influence on this comes from her work with Nelly Hooper, who worked with Massive Attack. I'm sorry, I Miss You as a song, I think it's a little grating. The brass is so in your face. I might just be saying this because I really hate the music video. It's like this cartoon style, and I genuinely think it is so ugly. I hate it so much. Cover Me is a very, very short song. It's almost like an interlude. That's another one that kind of perplexes me, along with Headphones. I don't think Headphones is a bad song. It's kind of a soft way to end such a vibrant album. That was probably her intention, build this momentum and then end with this very delicate, quiet song like Headphones. I just overall am not in love with Headphones. Each time I'm like, was there like a different song we could have put here, or maybe the structure could have been adjusted? There's something about it that doesn't quite sit right with me. But overall, anything beyond Post, if anyone rearranges these albums in a different order, I can't even say too much because all of these albums are so good. So I'm gonna shut up about Post.
Nope. Go ahead.
Throw the stones. This is what I deserve for putting Post this low. Debut. I know. Call Me Basic, that debut is like one of my favorite Bjork records. But listen, it was the first thing of Bjork's I'd ever heard, and I instantly
was hooked.
Since I heard this, I've been addicted. That is probably why I have it above Post. You can yell at me. You can sue me all you want for it, but I'm going to stand by that opinion. One of the reasons that Debut gets so underranked whenever I look at people's lists is that it's called Debut. I think if she had just named it something different, it would perform better in her fan base for where they stack it up. Because everything I see about it is just people being like, Debut is just like a good start.
Huh?
Debut's a good start.
What do you mean?
Björk had been making music for years at this point. She was a child prodigy. She had an album at 11 years old and was in how many different bands? Icelandic Famous. She was even known in London because of the Sugar Cube. So to say this is like her debut is a little laughable to me. In my mind, I'm like, she is an expert in her craft already at this point. This is not really a debut. This is more like, I'm done screwing around. It's time for me to make what's really in my heart. This album comes at an interesting time in her life because she had moved to London. The song is very much inspired by London house music and underground house music. This has resulted in a lot of people saying that
Debut is dated.
Shut up. If you have ever
Listen to me.
if you have ever said that Debut is dated, shut up.
Shut up.
If it was released this year in 2025, all of you would be giving it a 10 on Rate Your Music, and I know that for a fact. So I don't ever want to hear anyone say that Debut is dated. Shut up. It's my favorite record of the year. I love Debut. Oh my god, I love house music. Shut up. But beginning this album with Human Behavior is so crazy. I don't know why, but this always sticks out to me in my brain. She decided to start her solo career with a timpani. I know that's like really not that deep, but I love that. Start the whole shebang, it's gonna be a timpani. And you will find that on almost all of these tracks, the drums are a really big emphasis. There's not gonna be any guitars. She said that when she was making guitar-based music, it was not her favorite. She does not like the guitar. She literally was like, so I could make any kind of pop music I want. Really, I think that dance music is the future. So all of you who are giving every single dance record and house record of 2025 a perfect 10 or a 9 or an 8, this is who you have to thank for that. This is the pioneer who said that dance music is the future. House music is the future. And here we are 30 plus years later, and it is the future. It's the now, and it's also the future. Human Behavior is a great way to start your career. It is a very catchy song that is still very creative and artistic. You watch the music video for this, it's really cool to see that she started the whole thing. Björk's solo career started with this idea of human behavior. That is a horrible way to start that. The music video for this song is centered around basically being hunted by a bear. And it's all about these animals stalking her. In the end of the music video, the animals win, essentially. They win the competition. That shows you Björk's opinion on what's going to happen to humanity over time. I think she's saying that eventually nature will win.
And humanity will fall.
I don't know if I'd call that nihilist necessary. Not looking positive for humanity in Björk's eyes. Venus as a Boy is considered one of her greatest songs of all time, and that's because it is very timeless. I love Venus as a Boy. When I first had heard debut, this was definitely the song that I returned to. It felt really basic for that because I knew it was like a really popular one, but I was like, you know what? I have to go through it. Everyone does, and I have to go through it. I also love the music video for this one too because it shows Björk in a kitchen
fondling an egg.
I also would love to talk about There's More to Life Than This. This is a song that I consistently see people say is why they don't rank debut higher. I find that crazy. This song is super cool. Literally, we're in the club and then all of a sudden we're in a bathroom.
I can build a bar.
Why don't you like that? That's so fire. Everyone likes to pretend they love Björk because they're so
avant-garde and artistic.
But when she does kind of weird artsy things, everyone's like,
Okay, but I don't like it when she does it that way.
like, this is not even that artsy. Like, There's More to Life Than This is not that artsy and y'all can't handle it. Like Someone in Love, I know is Noah's favorite song here. This is also a jazz cover, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yep, there you have it. Vocals on this track are fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just a sucker for jazz covers. What can I say? Especially when they're taken kind of in a different direction. This one maybe adheres to the more duet instrument, usually piano and vocal combo. I do like how she trades the piano out for harp. The way that the timing is played within the song is super effective, and I just think that overall this is a very inventive cover of a classic. It's definitely one of my favorite songs on here. Really moved me when I first heard it too. It's not just that one that I love on this. There's a lot of songs I love on this too. So
I also have to mention Big Time Sensuality because this song is so fire. Genuinely a hit. Another song that I think if a different artist had recorded it, it would be considered a classic today. This one is definitely a banger that needs to be remembered in the annals of pop music. Big Time Sensuality. Oh yeah. Controlled Chaos. That's a really good way to describe debut. I don't think it's her most experimental and I don't think it's her most out there. It's not her most contained either. There's some songs on here that people like to say are kind of boring, like Aeroplane, the Anchor song. I disagree. I know when I was talking about Post, I said that I didn't like Headphones as the closer because it felt too anticlimactic. With the Anchor song is like kind of a come down, but I think for me it almost feels like the end to a really, really good night. And I think that's why I justify it. We start with Human Behavior and it's like we're like building and we're building until Big Time Sensuality and big moments, and then we have the slow come down. One Day, Come to Me, and Violently Happy, which is a super upbeat song I know a lot of people love. That is like a fan favorite, I believe. The Anchor song just really feels like a wholesome conclusion to a very great debut solo record. I'm gonna move on. I love debut though. This is my OG. Homogenic. Yup. Yup. I know. It's number 4. I know this is the masterpiece. Read it all. This is the only one. This is the magnum opus. This is the best album of all time. This record changed my life. I've heard it all, guys. As much as I love it, there are just 3 records that I love more. But I'm just going to be honest with you. This isn't me trying to be edgy or controversial. There are 3 projects that I like more, and if those 3 projects didn't exist, then this would be my number 1. It's as easy as that. Homogenic was released in 1997. Full on trip hop, electronic pop at its finest. Whoa. Before this album came out, Björk was having a lot of issues maintaining a balance between her public and private life. Famously, she had a stalker who attempted to have her killed, essentially. I don't know what I'm allowed to have her K-worded. Yeah. There was a man who stalked her, wanted to unalive her, as they like to say. I can imagine had a very profound effect on her psychologically. And not only that, there was also the most probably viral Björk moment of all time.
So hot. So hot.
When she beat the living shit
Silicon. So hot. Tiny salad. So hot. Do I make
out of that reporter. Like, let me know that had been harassing her. Okay, that is not me saying like she went off the rails like crazy or whatever.
We do not let the paparazzi win, okay?
She was going through a lot. Homogenic is really just the amalgamation of a lot of different experimental avenues that Björk decided to explore. She really leaned into the trip hop and the electronic side. Most famously, she's blending these lush, deep orchestral string arrangements with electronic beats. She pulls it off fantastically. The blending of these natural sounds with these electronic sounds. People used to really hate electronic music and think that it was derivative.
Oh, anyone can do that. It's just a computer.
But a guitar, that's special. Okay, well, now what? Here's those electronic beats, but also here are those real strings. And that is why most people say this is the best album ever made, or at least Björk's best album. Hunter is a fantastic opening. It is this slow burning build. You can feel Björk hunting you down in this song. It is kind of scary. There's a lot of speculation that this song is related to her stalker, kind of her taking her power back a little bit, and I definitely agree with that. She said that with the cover of this record, she really wanted to create the idea of this perfect person holding it all together, but is going through a lot of stress. Her neck is being stretched by these rings. She's wearing insanely long nails. It kind of creates this idea of someone who is just producing this artificial perfect image, is doing so gracefully, but is inside suffering. And I think that is a really good way of summing up what this record feels like. Listen, I do think that it's great, but I do think that a lot of people only have listened to this one or just look at the cover and they're like, this is my number one. So sorry, guys. Yoga is very, very commonly referred to as the best song that Björk ever made. It is a fantastic song. There's these swelling arrangements, and her vocal delivery is fantastic, where she's like, "State of emergency." Her delivery is so good, and it almost feels like she's on like an Icelandic cliffside, just like screaming out these words. She says that this album is Icelandic music. Something that she talks a lot about is Iceland is both a modern country and a bit more of a,
What's the word I'm looking for?
traditional country, maybe. They might raise the food on their own, but they have natural highways and they're egalitarian. She really likes to explore that line, old versus new. This album really dives into that idea because it feels both from the 90s and both from a future point in time.
It's very futuristic.
Yoga, I think, is the song that best captures that for sure.
It's an interesting thing you bring up about Iceland too. They're kind of like the reverse of like Amish people here in fucking Iowa. They're doing this traditional stuff. They're raising food. They're raising animals. They're living by these traditional means and maybe even traditional values. But that doesn't mean that they can't embrace or accept new technology in a healthy and productive manner. And I think that's really interesting that you bring that up, actually, because I feel like that's a super good way to describe, and I think super thorough way to describe Björk to someone maybe who's never heard her. She does have this really firm grasp and interest with traditional music and the history of music and the global history of music, and that comes across in almost every one of her albums, and it's one of the best parts of her music. Also, she constantly is embracing new technology, producers, new ideas. She's constantly finding ways to fuse these that are both respectful and cohesive. What we're talking about, the song Yoga is a really good example of this. I think it's a great song. I wouldn't put it as like my favorite Björk songs that I'm going to turn on. Not knocking the song at all. I think that this does a really good job of exemplifying this. The strings are just very intentionally arranged and are worked in there in a really tasteful and interesting way. That 2/4 measure in there, I believe, like ideas of traditional arrangement being like really adhered to. But on top of that, you still have these extremely relevant, or at least in 1997, trip hop influences still coming through with like the bass and like the dun, those influences coming through. So this is the perfect merger. And even her vocals are still kind of adhering to what's traditionally catchy, what's traditionally moving to someone both today and in 1997. That way of describing how her culture is a really good way to describe her as an artist throughout the entirety of her career. And I think that this song definitely exemplifies that to one of the best extents I feel like you could explain, to if you're trying to explain this to your like music teacher or like, you know what I mean? I'll hand it back to you. Sorry for rambling about that.
She calls this her Iceland album. She also says a lot of her albums are her Iceland albums, though. I think she just loves her country. Any Icelander, probably an Icelander, I wonder if any of them are like, that is not what we are like at all.
This lady is kooky.
Like, I wonder if there's anything like that, and I'd love to know. If you're from Iceland, comment down below and let us know if Björk accurately represents your country. As much as I love Yoga, though, Unravel is really like my favorite. Like glitch pop song, like it's kind of like a slow, so like heartbeat, but there's like this shimmering like electronic sound that plays every so often after the chorus, and it is just
it's so good.
also beautifully written. While you are away, my heart comes undone, slowly unravels in a ball of yarn. The devil collects it with a grin. Our love in a ball of yarn. He'll never return it. I swear, I almost cry every time I listen to the song. Even though this is, maybe a little bit more melancholic than it kind of reminds me of something that you might find in Vespertine. A little bit more intricate and kind of dialed in. Also important to note here that with Homogenic, she really wanted to stray away from post and debut and really focus on one sound. Obviously, that's why it's called Homogenic. She wanted to focus on strings and electric drums. All these songs really do exemplify that. Bachelorette is a song that has grown on me so much. The music video for this is basically Björk is an author and she has this book that she pulled up from the ground, which I love that because in Björk's perspective, everything is from the earth. Her music comes from the world. It comes from nature. She pulls up this book from the earth. She goes to the publisher and the publisher's like, oh yeah, this is great. And she gets huge off of this. She gets huge off this book. It's called My Story and it writes itself. And over time, it's just like a cycle. And suddenly she's not really the one profiting off of it anymore. And suddenly it seems more like someone else's than hers. And I think that really highlights Björk's need for artistic control. You know, that's probably how she felt when people were mass consuming her music like never before. She maybe felt like she didn't have a lot of control over that. This is probably my hot take for sure. 5 Years and Immature are solid songs.
Don't get me wrong.
I just think they're the least interesting. Like I don't have any like thing bad to say about it. They don't really stick with me. I don't really get lasting impression. They're kind of over and then I'm like,
Okay.
there's just such standout that like when they come on, it's like noticeably different for me. The high is so high. So probably they're really like A tier songs, but the rest of it's like S tier. Can we get back to the S tier? Because right after it, we get Pluto, the most aggressive song. Because this album is so aggressive. Host was bold. This is aggressive. I love that she is so confident and self-determined on this album, and it's so reflected in the music. Top 2 or 3. All is full of love. The music video for this, of the two like lesbian robots kissing, I'm not even kidding you. I had tears in my eyes. I don't know why. It just moved me. It changed my perspective on the song forever. Her vocal delivery is just stunning. A call and response effect with her vocals where she sings all is full of love and then she repeats it back. And I don't know why, but it just feels like a conversation with herself maybe or with someone else where they're just agreeing or she's internally deciding that all is full of love. And I like that she portrayed that idea through two lesbian robots. I guess they're robots, so they're not really like, they don't have a gender, but they're femme-presenting robot, femme-presenting animatronics. That's all. That's all I have to say about this record.
20 minutes later.
Okay, homogenic fans, now that you're done, I hope you stuck around because it's Medulla.
Medulla.
The year I was born, 2004, brought more than just me into this world. It also brought Medulla, and Medulla is life-changing. She said that she was in New York and there was a lot of racism going on in response to the 9/11 attacks. There was renewed patriotism and there was racism against Arab or Islamic people. Obviously, that was really frustrating for her to watch. And so Medulla is kind of a response to all of this. She's stripping back everything and she's saying, here's what makes us human. Here's not what makes us a country or here's not what makes us a people. Here's what makes us human. Medulla literally means core. I think she really does get to the core of humanity in this song, like not to be overly corny or sentimental with this album. So she employed Inuit throat singer Tanya Tagaq as well as beatboxers from various parts of the world to make an a cappella album. And yes, I am looking you dead in the eyes right now, well through this computer screen, to tell you that I like this a cappella Bjork album more than Homogenic. Something that is so important about Medulla, if I have ever questioned why Bjork is considered a pop artist, because I have. She makes very avant-garde music, so why is she considered a pop musician? This was my answer. I'm not even joking you. I've been thinking about this for so long. Medulla is why Bjork is a pop singer. Even though 95% of this album is entirely vocals, no other instruments, just vocals, she still contains the pop sensibilities of someone who is a perfect pop diva. She pulls off songs like Who Is It and Triumph of a Heart. These songs are pop songs.
You cannot tell me otherwise.
They are catchy. There's a melody. There's a chorus. They are pop songs, but the catch is they're only vocals. I'm going to be honest. I don't think there's like any other pop musician who could pull that off besides Björk. Been dying to get that out of my head. Pleasure Is All Mine is the start. This instantly caught my attention when I was listening to this. It instantly grabbed me and pulled me in, and I was like, I knew this was going to be vocals, but this is already so captivating. I know some people are like, it's too weird. I don't like the beatboxing, blah, blah, blah. What? You guys don't like the beatboxing? What are you talking about? Maybe I'm an idiot, but I could be like, yep, that's a drum. But I do not think the beatboxing is an issue. Like,
Come on.
but songs like Pleasure Is All Mine and Show Me Forgiveness just starts off on such a good note. Her singing is the best it's ever been. The songs are enjoyable. Like, it's just as simple as that, and it's all vocals.
I don't care.
Where Is the Line is one of her best songs ever.
Where is the line with...
It's just like constant driving and honestly terrifying. There's a choir in here that's singing in the background. They sing with this dissonance that just really is off-putting and kind of gives you goosebumps. This is like the scariest that Bjork ever is. If you thought Army of Me was like intimidating, Where Is the Line is like horrifying. Who Is It Though is probably one of my favorite Bjork songs of all time. How do you pull off this song? I don't know. I love pop music. I love art pop. I'm a choir nerd. I'm a theater nerd. Who Is It is fantastic. I wish that she had the music video version of it on streaming because I love the bells. Alexander McQueen designed this dress made out of bells, basically. She's like in a desert and she's like dancing around in it, and I kind of like the bell version.
It's very Christmassy.
Submarine is another standout. I can't even believe that she conceived of this. There's these deep vocal lines. She blends so naturally and so well into her own style.
Out of the heavy deep.
I'm like both confused and awestruck. I'm like awestruck at the same time. That is purely why I just am so infatuated with this album. It's pulling off something that should be gimmicky and it's not. So many people would have gone into Medulla and done some corny a cappella songs. There is never one song on here that I feel like it's a gimmick. I always feel like she's super committed to it and it feels super authentic. In trying to show what makes us human, she really did unite a bunch of mismatched people and to make a cohesive record. What right does a beatboxer, Björk, and a throat singer have on the same track?
Bjork answered the question.
That's what makes us human. Desired Constellation, I'm not even going to get into. I love that song so much. And of course, there's Oceania, which she performed at the Olympics. And this was supposed to be like her We Are the World. This is supposed to be like her We Are the World song. She has a really interesting take on that. She sings this song like she's the ocean, singing about people leaving her wet embrace, saying you've done well for yourself since you left me all those years ago. And I really like that idea because when you look at it through the ocean's eyes, we are all just the same group of people that just came out of the ocean and went away. Like there's no differences between us. That is really what she was trying to get through on the song. Lastly, I just want to touch on Triumph of a Heart really quick.
Bam, 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 bam.
I see why someone could be annoyed by that. I think it is so fun. It's very playful. While Medulla does have some of the heavier, darker sides of her music, it also really does portray the full range of human experience by also going through fun, catchy pop songs. And I love the music video for this. She is married to a cat. She runs away from the cat. She goes out and she drinks. After a night of fun, she walks home, and then her cat husband comes and picks her up in his car. In the end, the cat is like CGI, like transformed into like a huge cat. Like Bjork and the cat are like dancing around the living room. Genuinely, probably my favorite thing of all time, if I'm being honest. It is hilarious. You have to watch it. That's Medulla, and I stand by putting this at number 3. I was a little wary of it because I know Homogenic is a classic. There is no low point on this album for me. I love every single song, even though I didn't talk about all of them. I'm trying to not make Noah's job of editing 100 times harder than it's already going to be.
I feel like this kind of idea, it seems like kind of like a head-ass idea. Like, you know, it's like kind of like, oh, I'm just going to do all vocals. Like, you know, like it's kind of like a seemingly pretentious concept. But in reality, I feel like it comes across as just another Bjork album. It really doesn't affect the quality of the songs really at all. Yeah, if anything, I feel like it makes her and her team have to become a lot more creative in how they implement the vocals into it. I think if you listen to a lot of the songs, they actually end up being some of her most freaky, avant-garde, catchy, most expansive songs in her entire discography. So they go above and beyond what you would expect even her to do. So really, at the end of the day, this concept actually enhances her. You know, there are some records that do take these concepts very seriously, that do stick to these concepts, and I feel like ultimately it's very commendable to really follow through on concepts and to want to do them in the first place. It can be controversial and it can kind of fuck over your album sometimes.
This is widely considered her most experimental and controversial because so many people hate the direction of it. That's because you guys don't like experimental music.
But I do really have to jump in and commend her for how well she executed this concept and how seriously she took it. Because this just seems kind of like a music school, like university, college ass like idea. World music album. Listen to all the vocals of the world. Like it sounds like stupid as fuck and like boring. But ultimately, yeah, when you hear this album, you will feel freaked out and you will feel unnerved. You'll feel unnerved and you'll be like, damn, that was like a real song. The vast majority of the time you're gonna be like, damn, that's not just some stupid ass head ass concept. This is a real song.
Yeah. What I said about her being a pop artist because of this album, does that make sense?
What was your
because I said I've often wondered why she's considered like a pop artist like all the time. Like even now she's considered a pop artist. And not just because she's popular. I get that's what pop means. It's because she can pull things off like that. Like she maintains her pop sensibilities on songs that are super abstract and avant-garde. That's what I said. Does that make sense?
I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you could argue that she has that leaning. Like I think what you're saying is you put her in any context and she has at least she has a couple inclinations, or like she has this impulse to be like, I'm gonna make a catchy song, I think is what you're saying.
Before we move on from this record, this has to be in here. This album could be a 10 if Beyonce was on here because she was supposed to be. It was rumored that Beyonce was gonna be on Medulla. And also if that's proof that you needed that Beyonce is the best of all time, Björk thought she was good enough to be on an all vocal album. All you other fandoms, I hate y'all because guess what? Beyonce on top because she was going to be on Medulla. But she had other things going on because she was a big deal in 2004 and she still is now.
Busy Beehive.
Like literally last thing. She has said that she never went into this album thinking it was going to be like a vocal album. She didn't sit down and go, this is going to be a voice album. This is like the new stunt that Björk is going to pull off. She said that she started writing these songs and performing them, and she said they didn't feel right. Like the sounds just didn't sound right with the production. She stripped it down to the vocals and she realized this is what works for this idea. This is what works for this song. I think that's really important to note, that she didn't go into this album as like a gimmick or a stunt. This was an act of will. Enough said about Medulla. Just go listen to it, and if you don't like it, that's fine. If you don't like Medulla, you're really gonna hate her soundtrack, Drawing Restraint Number 9. It is the weirdest, artsiest thing she ever did, and it even made me, who like claims to love experimental Björk, it made me quake in my boots.
It was a little too much for me. It was a little too scary.
Moving on. If you're like a real Björk fan, you know what's left. It's not going where you think it's gonna go. Both of these albums are 10 out of 10s, and I consider two of the best albums of all time. This is literally just a matter of slight nuance for me because I think both of these albums are perfect albums. They're 10 out of 10s, and you should listen to both of them all the time like I do. Here we go. Number 2 is Vespertine. If you are a Björk fan, Vespertine's probably actually your number 1. I know I said that about Homogenic. I think if you're a little bit more in on Björk, or if you've gone through the full discography, you come away with Vespertine being your number 1. There's nothing wrong with that. This should be my number 1. I'm not even gonna lie to you. This should be my number 1. I'm kind of being annoying really by not putting it at number 1 just to be a little different and edgy. Not true. I'm kidding. When people think about Vespertine, most people think about the term microbeats. The intimate domestic sounds that she incorporates into this album. It's as simple as sound of ice, shuffling a card deck. These are sounds that she has incorporated into the very texture of the album, because this is probably the most textured album you'll ever hear. You need to listen to it to understand it, I guess. Where Homogenic was grand, all-encompassing, Vespertine is like a microscope being held up on a romantic interest. Most of these songs read as love poems. She incorporates her sexuality and her love life very intimately into Vespertine. When you open on Hidden Place, it is honestly life-changing. The strings that lull behind Björk, it's so whimsical. Oftentimes people say that this album is like a winter album, and it 100% is. It's 100% a winter album. I think honestly most Björk albums are. She has a very winter kind of sound. Anyway, so Hidden Place is a great intro, but Cocoon, honestly my favorite song on here, actually breathtaking. It almost feels like you're being swaddled. All of the textures that Björk is building in the production around you. She's using this like soft whisper as she delivers every single line, really making it feel like an intimate moment as she sings about her sex life. Who would have known that a boy like him, after sharing my core, would stay going nowhere? I don't want to say this word because it implies like that she's not wise, but it's very naive or almost childlike, and that is really what is so beautiful about Vespertine. This fascination with everyday mundane life that she just portrays very clearly and very, very well. This should be in everyone's top 10. And I know it's probably really basic to have that opinion, but it's true. Songs like Pagan Poetry, out of this world, probably my second favorite, I would say, on this album. When I first heard this, I was like, wait a second. I literally know what that is from like a meme. Why did this song get memed? I have no idea. This is just a mystical. From my hibernating. Wake me up from my hibernating. On the surface, simplicity. Swirling. Oh my God. Whirling black lilies, totally ripe. A secret code carved. I just feel like every single line is so intentional. Just like what we said with Medulla, talking about how intentional she was with that project, that could not be any more true about Vespertine. After Homogenic, I think she just really wanted to zoom in more after she was focused on one sound, which it's a great sound, but I really think the payoff on Vespertine of exploring these tiny, tiny, intricate moments is just it pays off. Even songs like Frosty, which don't even have any lyrics, but are instead this like chiming sound, it's so world building. Like I love that she took the time to include something like Frosty, although it does remind me of the music that plays when you're about to die in FNAF. Again, each song like a poem, an echo, a stain. Sun in My Mouth is a poem by, I want to say it was E. Cummings. She adopted that poem from him into a song. I don't know. Just there's something about when Björk decides to take like a poem or like a reference, like a movie or something, and turn it into a song. It just always works so well. She's so creative. So, I mean, this shouldn't be like surprising by any means, but I just think like she's such a poetic person herself. And when she finds like a poem that she connects with, she really has that ability to make it her own.
I think that this is easily the most accessible Bjork album, and I don't want to knock it. I just think it's so likable. I'm kind of at a loss for words at how easy it is to get into this record, but it doesn't sacrifice any like commercial appeal or anything like that. So I really am not saying that to knock the record at all. In fact, I'm kind of saying it to praise it, because I just feel like this is just such a enjoyable experience no matter where you are in your life, in your music listening. Like, I think that this is just such a damn likable record. You get immersed into it right away, and it's under an hour, so I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call that short. Like 55 minutes, I wouldn't call it short. You can kind of breeze through it, get through all these songs like it's nothing. I kind of don't really know what else to say about this record. It's incredible. It's super immersive. The world building on it is insane. Like what you said about her fascination and hyperfixation on the mundane in this record is anything but in how she tackles the instrumentation. Like, I feel like it really feels like you're in this kind of, like, if you look at the cover, that's exactly how it feels. I feel like you just kind of have to listen to it to understand, not to sound like corny or whatever, but I just think that no matter where you are in your life, I think this record will hit you hard and leave a hard impression no matter what music you like.
This album has the potential to change whatever kind of music you are interested in. I have been a fairly mainstream like music enjoyer like most of my life. Earlier this year, when I started listening to Bjork or Grace Jones or a multitude of other Kate Bush, people like that, albums such as this one are, even though it is really mainstream and like quite popular to say that those are great albums, but there's a reason. And I feel that way about Homogenic too, and so I'm not trying to knock it, but this one is the one that speaks to me more. I just love getting to feel like I'm a fly on a wall in Bjork's like life without being too personal. It's not very parasocial. It's more like she's just inviting you into the idea of these warm days, like these warm environments on a cold day.
This is the perfect record to get you into her.
Okay, and obviously that was number 2, so there has to be a number 1. Deep in the trenches of Reddit, there are a lot of people who will accept my number 1. This is not the mainstream number 1, but it's also not like the craziest number 1. I'm being very authentic with this though, guys. This album is fully made for me. Like, I'm the listener that this was supposed to reach. And so if this one doesn't connect with you, I guess I can't fault you for it. I'm gonna look at you a little crazy if you don't say it's at least good. Here it is. Björk's 2015 album, Volnicura. It's Volnicura, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not even close to being sorry. A couple months ago, I was walking back from class and I was like, okay, it's time to listen to my next Björk record. And I turned on Volnicura and I instantly knew that I had messed up, but I was in knee deep in the album. And so there was no leaving, because when this came on, I was already like about to cry. I was like, this album is so good. This album follows Björk's divorce from Matthew Barney. This is the most intimate personal record we have ever gotten from Björk. I'm not someone who thinks you need to be a personal artist to reach people. I do tend to like albums or artists who like kind of expose themselves in this kind of way, who are comfortable with being uncomfortable in a way. She doesn't say a lot about the record when she does talk about it, because it is a very, very emotional time for her. She does always highlight that she does feel kind of embarrassed about some of these songs. She was really worried about performing them live. She was really worried about releasing Black Lake, which we'll get to here in a minute. There was just overall like a lot of feelings of fear about releasing this, and I completely understand why. Very intimate, very, very personal. This is the best Björk writing. You can't convince me. I think she says it best when she says this is her singer-songwriter album. She and I are both fans of Joni Mitchell. This lyrically could be a Joni Mitchell album in the way that we are getting a surgical dissection of her relationship with Matthew Barney and the fallout of it. In a way, it's a very feminist record, and she made sure that that message was relayed in her interviews about Volnicura. She really talked a lot about, on albums like Vespertine, she hadn't received a lot of credit for the the work that she did. And she said realistically she was doing 80% of the production, and yet her name is not mentioned as a producer. Oh, it's this guy. And when people would be like, no, well, no, it was also Björk, they'd kind of just, yeah, whatever. This is the first album we get where she works with Arca. Arca and Björk really did find each other at the perfect time. She said that in a way, when she lost one thing, meaning Matthew Barney, she gained another, and that was a really deep personal relationship with Arca. And we've already talked about Arca, so I'm not going to go on about it. She says that she really admired when Arca came to produce with her because she knew so much about her records, and she kind of got scared because she's like, I'm not the best with fans. But then she realized it wasn't in a fan way, it was in a student way, and Arca really was like a pupil. The product of Volnicura, of this heartbreak, of Arca's work, of their friendship, ends up being the most beautiful. And I've said it a lot, but this time I really, really, really mean it. This is the most beautiful Björk record there is. I don't think it's going to be everyone's favorite, but it's 100% mine. Stone Milker is probably like my top like 3 Björk song. Like, I don't know where it is, but it's definitely up there. Strings are the main instrument that we get on this record. But with Stone Milker, I'm just gonna look at some lyrics. I can't just say they're the best lyrics then not talk about it at all. A juxtapositioning fate, find our mutual coordinates. Moments of clarity are so rare, I better document this. And if that is not how this record feels, it really does feel like she's in the midst of things, mentally, psychologically, but she's having moments where she can find the strength to get these songs out of her mind. On the song, she also says, all that matters is who is open-chested and who has coagulated, who can share and who can shut down the chances. Show me emotional respect. I think that really highlights what the main issue was with her relationship, that she did not feel like she was emotionally respected. It's really hard to hear that, not just because of her or him or whatever, because I think everyone knows what it feels like when you don't feel like you're being emotionally seen. She puts it so eloquently. And that analogy of getting him to concede, getting him to be open with her is like trying to milk a stone. That idea is just, I don't know who else could have come up with that. Lion Song is honestly, though, for me, another crazy, crazy Björk song. I love this music video. It starts with that shot of the open wound on her chest, and you can just see the heart beating inside. I am obsessed with that visual. She really talks about how she's not taming an animal. Maybe someday he'll come out of his moods, his apocalyptic obsessions. It's not her job to sit here and mother him. She's not taming an animal. She's an adult. She's a grown woman. I wish I could talk more about the production, but I just love the writing so much in all these songs. But I do love the strings. They're so moving. And honestly, it does feel like she even stepped up the strings that we saw with Homogenic. It feels like their strings are even better, which is crazy because the strings on Homogenic are fabulous, and these strings are nothing short of a masterpiece. History of Touches almost feels like a response to Cocoon. Very ambient. We get very spacey synth sounds on this. As she talks about the last time that she has sex, basically saying she knew it was coming to an end. This was the last time. And in this final moment of intimacy is kind of the last clarity she'll get with him. That really does relate to Cocoon, because as Vespertine is completely about Matthew Barney and her falling in love, and Cocoon is about sexual intimacy with him. And so this song just really is like a follow-up of that. It's not the follow-up that we want. Beautifully written and composed. I love the synths on here. They're very atmospheric. I feel like this one is one that you can tell that Arca has helped with. Black Lake is a 10-minute song, just guttural. This is the song that she said she was most embarrassed to put out and most concerned with public reaction, just because it's a 10-minute song that airs out all of her beef with her ex-husband. Again, I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry, but the writing is stunning. There's one line at least I have to share with you. Our love was my womb, but our bond was broken. My shield is gone, my protection is taken. That really does relate to Vespertine again. Pitchfork interview with Björk said it. They referred to Vespertine's production as womb-like. I'm so jealous that I didn't come up with that. Vespertine's production is womb-like, because when you really think about it, you are in such a calm, relaxed state when you listen to it. It's like you're in the womb again and you just hear like water or whatever and like your mom's heartbeat. It is just so captivating. I kind of like that. It just feels like a callback to, once again, like our love was my womb, but our bond has been broken. I see why someone would have issue with this song. It's 10 minutes of strings and Björk lamenting. I think she executes it really well. And like I said, I listened to this album walking back from school one day, and I'm not kidding you, I was walking back from class listening to Black Lake crying. I was literally crying on my way back from class listening to Black Lake, and I was like, this is horrible. Why did I start this? But I couldn't turn it off because I was too infatuated. Family is somehow still one of Björk's best songs, and I know I'm saying that about all of them. The strings, this is the moment where I think the production, honestly, probably the most dynamic and interesting. She's essentially mourning the loss of her family. Above losing her husband, this is the mother of her children, the man who's helping her raise her children in her household. This is the death of her family, and she says, where can I pay my respects for the death of my family? Show some respect. And it is cutting. These lyrics are so cutting. There's a point in the song where the strings break loose. They're like building and building and building, and then all of a sudden it literally feels like every single string is a knife. I think even if you don't love Volnicura, I think you'll really respect what she's achieving. Adam Dance, again, we see Anoni as a feature on here, and it's like a chamber pop masterpiece. The strings are very plucky. We have a little bit of a drum in the background, and it really does feel like we're zoomed in into this intimate moment, again, like Vespertine almost, as she's trying to convey with the theme being an Adam Dance. Anoni, her vocals are so good. I think I have to check out her music after this because I am obsessed. Quicksand and Mouth Mantra, I think, oftentimes get the worst rap on the album. I think people like to say it's a little stretched, but Quicksand, I think, is a great conclusion. It at least feels like there's some resolution, and while it's not entirely positive, I mean, what can she say? She's devastated, but she does say when she's broken, she is whole, and when she's whole, she is broken. This album concludes with her saying, regardless of what has happened, it has made her a better person. To deny herself the feelings that she's gone through would be to sacrifice the growth. On top of this divorce, she also had vocal surgery before Volnicura. I can only imagine that this was probably a very, very low point in her life, obviously. In every single interview, she gets so choked up when she even talks about it. I seriously would consider this maybe my favorite album of all time, at least top 3.
I am a sucker for strings. I think that's important to know. I'm a huge sucker for some strings.
This has got strings, great lyricism, a cohesive storyline, narrative that I can follow, and some of her best vocals. I won't say her best vocals because I think that would be a little bit of a stretch with Medulla, but I do think this is a close second or a third potentially. This is her masterpiece in my eyes. I wish this one got a little bit more respect. I wish I saw this in top 3 at least more often. I don't think it's absurd to believe that this is her best record at all. Whenever someone says that this is their favorite album, they typically say, if you get it, you get it. And I hate when people say stuff like that because it's like, okay, just say it's like not good or whatever. But that is kind of true. If you get Volnicura, you get Volnicura. Faithful audience, if you've watched however long this whole thing is going to be, I really appreciate it. I enjoy Björk obviously so much. She is a huge inspiration to me. I love learning about her as an artist. I even think she is just such a great role model. People oftentimes like to call her an alien or commonly an elf. In the 90s, she was called an elf a lot. But I think that is very reductive because Björk seems like one of the most human people. In every single interview, the interviewers are like, I'm just so surprised by how, like, she's quirky, but she's just so, like she's just like a person. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Björk is a human. Like, duh. Who else is making this music? She's not an AI. Oftentimes, I think that her music is the most relatable to, like, the human experience of any other artist I've listened to. Like, I love Lady Gaga and I love Beyonce, but genuinely, I think that Björk really captures some of the most core human experiences there are. Love or loss or heartbreak, or even just what are we as humans and how do we fit into the natural order of things. She just really tackles issues that not a lot of people do, and when she does, they're perfect. Most of the time, they're really good at least. Thank you all for watching. Go stream some Björk music, and I'm going to leave you with this. A-E-I-O-U.
If you put an Indian violin into a punk song, it's not so weird because how many times have I seen a punk eat Indian food?